All right, guys, today we have a fun one for you. We have the Ultra Street Fighter 2 Final Challengers first six figures from Jada Toys. These things are amazing. So let's take a quick look at the packages. And of course, there is number 6, Fei Long, hiding back there. First up, of course, we're going to take a look at all of these here, but I want to show each package. So here is Dhalsim in all his glory. Lots and lots of accessories there. These packaging is pretty cool. It's obviously meant to replicate that Street Fighter arcade look. Of course, it doesn't actually look anything like the real arcade, but there's the art on the side of the package, and the art is the same on all of them. On the left side, you do get a brief little country of origin and fighting style for like each character. Of course, on the back, you've got that action pose along with the character list, the cross sales, so you can see down here. And each one of these characters you can get alternate outfits for. For example, here is the Player 2 version of Chun Li. You can see she's wearing red. Of course, these are the Player 2 ones are a little more limited. They are the chase figures, but there is an example of one of them. Of course, the ones we're going to open today are the Player 1 versions, the most iconic versions. So there is Dhalsim. Let's take a look at the other newest figure, Bison. There is that packaging. Of course, there's the side and the back. No reason to belabor that one. And then let's grab Fei Long next. There's a nice, good shot of Fei Long. Again, the side with that country of origin, Hong Kong, fighting style, Kung Fu. The action pose on the back. Now, the great thing about these figures is they are very affordable. So they come in right around $20, $25. Here's Chun Li. But you can see they have a ton of accessories, tons of articulation. So we'll get into that closer. But quite a bargain for that cost, considering how detailed each of these figures are. And of course, there's the big guy, Ryu. And there's his side. And of course, the back there. Last but not least, we have Ken. And there's his side. And there's the back there. So, really excited to get into these. I managed to finally get all 6 that are currently released. There are a ton more planned. Of course, they showed off some really cool ones at San Diego Comic-Con this year. They showed off Blanca. Just amazing figure. We've seen Zangief, huge. Just really cool. So they're really starting to fill out the rest of this line. I can't wait for them to come out. Unfortunately, these do come out very slowly. Typically, I think we've been getting 2 a year, maybe 3 a year. They really need to hopefully step that up. But let's take a look at these figures open, shall we? Alrighty, first up, something that is pretty cool is they do come with these great backdrops. So you can see there you got a nice layout of the character stage, which really is going to make displaying these nice and add to a lot of the really, again, setting these up for pictures, posing, really cool. I do plan on doing something special with all these once we get a whole bunch of them going, and I'll be excited to share that with you all when I get there, but all in due time, right? So first up, let's take a look at Ryu. And one of the things you'll see right away, and see if I can get this up a little more, There is a lot of great painting on this. We have the accentuation of the muscles. You can see all that shading in there. Very cool. The gi, I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but is textured. So it is not just plastic, just flat plastic, which they could have done. Again, remember this price point, it's $25. Just absolutely amazing that they have gone this extra mile. It's also really pliable. So this is even a more pliable rubber than I'm used to on figures. So you can see there, it's really going to, one, you could take these off if you wanted, but it's also not, it's going to ensure that these outfits are not in the way of how you want to pose them, which is super cool. So there's where you can see all those points of articulations. We have butterfly joints for those shoulders, so you can get a lot of flexibility in how you move those arms. Of course, you got the twist, you got the double jointed elbows. Those fists they have. Of course, they can rotate, and they're also hinged. Feet, we have a lot of movement in the feet, which is just great. Double hinge knee. Looks like we've got another like barbell type setup on the hips and rotation at the quads. Very cool. And we've got the neck, another barbell up at the top to make sure that head is really posable. So very cool. And so that's the figure. I guess I could show the back here. Very cool figure. Now they do come with all kinds of accessories. So first up we have alternate hands, right? And this is so you can get that Hadouken pose going. So very cool. We have the angry face, which is really neat. So an alternate head. And we have that Hadouken fireball, so you can see the hands in there. And it's this translucent blue, really cool looking. And you'll notice on here, it's interesting, we also get this display stand, so you can, of course, move this in all different kinds of directions. It can serve lots of different purposes. But you can go ahead and put that in there. So, you can get that fireball action in there. So let's take a moment and I want to show you just how posable these figures are, because they are quite impressive. All right, first up, we have that classic start pose. I mean, how cool is that? Like, you can get them in the exact look and shape of that original start position. So very cool that this is how articulated these are. Really can make for some nice displays, dioramas, nice photography, get them in all the different positions to really reenact your favorite fight. So let's take a look at one more iconic pose from this figure. All right, there we are with another iconic pose. Of course, him unleashing that fireball. Very, very cool that you can do all these amazing poses with these figures. So with that one done, let's take a look at Ken. Alrighty, once again, there we have Ken in all his glory. Again, it's almost the identical figure to Ryu, so you're going to see that textured gi, all those same points of articulation. Of course, the nice, rubber top of his gi top, robe, whatever you want to call it. Of course, we've got different hair sculpt there. And like the other ones, of course, we have those additional hands. So you can get that going. We have the angry face the orange and red fireball. Of course, it's got the hands in there as well. And like the other ones, we have our display base for that fireball. So let's take another look at posability in this that we haven't seen yet. Another action pose from this class of character. Of course, we are talking about that iconic Shuriken, the Dragon Punch. You know, again, amazing that you can get these figures in that pose. They are so posable. It is quite impressive. You can really get these how you want in order to replicate those positions as closely as humanly possible for display purposes. And again, with an action stand or whatever you name it, you can really set up some amazing poses there. So there he is on the other side, but of course this is the view you're normally going to see when you're playing one of the granddaddy of all fighters, of course, Street Fighter 2. Alrighty, next up, we of course have the iconic Chun Li. And so, look at the sculpt on this one. It is quite amazing. Lots of articulation. And the great thing about it is these are to scale. So they get bigger or smaller based on how the characters are in the game. So it's really cool to see that attention to detail and their willingness to not make all these 6-inch figures like all the same height. So we got taller ones, shorter ones, bulkier ones, thinner ones. But again, great detail. So again, we have this really, kind of flip that around to show you really how pliable that is. So it's not going to, her shirt is not going to be interfering in any of the posability. Of course, we do have some lacing on the boots, which is a nice attention to detail. Again, we still have that shadowing on the musculature, even though she's a smaller, more petite female. You got the detail in the heads, the bows, not rigid plastic. So again, it's this nice, pliable rubber. And again, that rubber, I can't emphasize that enough, is very pliable, much more so than normal action figures. So it really helps with getting these figures into position. We have these bracelets. They are plastic, but you can see they do come off, and they are molded separately from the arm. So again, another nice attention to detail. Now here we don't have the butterfly arms. It's just the kind of that ball joint so that it does get some motion there. You can get her arms straight out, which is nice. So that's kind of your range of motion. Of course, got full rotation. We also have some rotation at the bicep. Again, the double hinged elbows. The the hands that have both the hinge and the ability to rotate. Again, that you can get her completely flat out there, so she can do the complete splits. Got the rotation in the hip, so just a ton of nice range in the feet, just like our Ken figures. So really, really big range of motion. So let's check out a couple of poses. Actually, before we do that, got to remember we have accessories. So one of the cooler ones, this is the kick, right? So you can slide her foot in there and get that iconic speed kick. We have the alternate head of the shout, the yell, these additional hands. So we actually have 2 in that karate chop action. And like the other ones, we have a stand. This one is going to be more for the legs in order to hold this piece up. so you can prop that leg up. So let's take a look at a couple quick poses and go from there. All right, first up we have her posed in that ready fight stance. Again, really cool. You're able to do this and get them exactly as you'd want them to be, to display, like I said, to reenact those fights. It's just really amazing how articulated these are. The other nice thing about the articulation on these is they are just stiff enough to allow you to easily move them. So that I did not have to heat these up, which is common among other 6-inch figures like the G.I. Joe Classified series, Action Force, you name it. Out of the package, you can break them if you aren't careful. These, I'm able to just kind of manhandle these without any fear of breaking them. They come with just the right amount of flexibility right out of the box. So let's take a look with her accessories going, shall we? All right, there she is, just kicking away. I mean, you can almost imagine her moving. It is so amazing how these figures have so much posability and come with just the right accessories to really make these things look impressive. Wow. All right, we'll jump into the next one. All right, folks, next up is Fei Long, and we are just gonna start him out in that crazy kick pose. Of course, there he is, getting that dragon kick. And so let's talk about these accessories. So this is the first one, that fire leg just slides right on. We can take that off. And of course, we've got the alternate head on him, which is this head with the mouth open. He also comes with the more serious, angry look already applied. Those like lightning eyebrows. As we look at the paint on him, there is a little bit of shadowing on the muscles, but nothing like as much as was on Ryu and Ken, but they are still there, which is nice to see. Let's get him posed standing up. I have the alternate hands on him as well, so you can see those outstretched fingers. He comes with, in the package, the fists. So let's get him posed in his ready pose, because you're not really going to make this guy stand with that big leg on there with no additional leg or support. So let's jump in and take a look at that, shall we? Alrighty, there we are with him in that ready pose. And of course, we can get this turned a little more here because of that double hinged elbow. Get that a little more up to his face like he does. Of course, he's so spread wide in his ready pose that it takes some doing to balance this figure. But I wanted to kind of, again, show you, we've got this great texture. So they've gone the extra mile to texture the pant on this model. Really kind of gives it that feel of cloth, even though it is just molded plastic. And this also figure lets us see a little better that kind of ball joint at the waist. We have the rib cage ball joint. Since he doesn't have any clothing blocking the way, it really does accentuate the rest of the articulation on these figures. So really wanted to use this one to show that off, because it's pretty dang cool how articulated these are. So next, let's take a look at one of the newest figures, the final 2 releases in this line so far, and that next one is Bison. Alrighty, here we are with the badassery that is Bison. I want you to take a look at him, of course, in this ready pose, and it is awesome. So lots of things to talk about with this Bison figure. So first, let's talk about the accessories. Of course, we've got an alternate head, that screaming or snarling Bison. Let's see if we can get it to focus. And I guess he decided to just take a nap on us right there. So let's prop him back up. We also have this punch, flaming punch. We have a couple extra hands, this snarling, kind of clawing, gouge your eyes out. And we have a couple different plates for his shoulders. Of course, that's because when this figure appears in Street Fighter 2, the originals, he rips this cape off. I think in the later versions, like Alpha, he keeps it on. But here you go. So let's take a closer look at this figure. Of course, the detail on this thing is truly amazing. Looks like it came with a little speck, or I got a speck of something on him because it came off. So don't know if you can tell, but there's texture all over the cloth on this figure, so you can really tell all the different details. Of course, we have where the shirt connects. We have that rubber again to allow you to make these poses. And this cape is kind of a nylon. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's this nice smooth nylon. But of course, it's got this wire all around it, so you can pose it, get it in that exact form and shape that you are looking for. And so that is him in that original fighter ready stance. As we go to pose this guy, I want to show you first like how you remove this cape, and it just kind of pops off like so. And then you can take the cape off, and then that's where these come in. So you can go ahead and got the wrong ones. You just kind of latch it on there and push it down. It snaps into place. Do this one here. And then you have those in. The other things that we didn't talk about is these do move, right? So you can position these how you want to get those poses and cape positioned where it makes the most sense, and get the look you're looking for. So I wanted to show you that before we got too much into posing this figure for the next shot. All right, there we go with him kneeling down and taking that powerful mid-range punch. Like I said, it is amazing how you can essentially take the sprites for these characters and just mold the figures into pretty much the exact positions. I don't know how you would get any closer in being able to pose these things so much like the game. So it's damn impressive. I just can't comment enough how really cool, and these things are every bit as articulated as a hot toy, only in that 6-inch size. Man, so detailed. These are truly, truly cool figures. All right, once again, there is just a ton to like about these figures. Of course, this is our final figure today, so appreciate you sticking around. This is a long video. 6 figures in this initial set, so we've got to talk about Dhalsim. This thing is awesome. There's a lot of great little pieces to this, and of course we have him posed in kind of his taunt and ready stance. But again, we've got these. Now here you see this plastic is large, but as we get to hard around the legs on those shorts, so that's not rubbery like the other figures. However, the top, you'll notice, is so that we can get all the nice bend and everything there. We have the necklace. Of course, this is plastic. Got the nice little rubber around those individual skulls mounted to it. But it is loose, so you need to be careful with that. It does tend to want to swing around to the back for some reason. We also have these earrings, and these are metal through the head, which is really cool. We have these braces molded separately. These will come off when you take the hands off, so you got to be careful not to drop those little things. But again, you're seeing that these are plastic versus metal, painted that silver, but really cool. And again, we have the texture on the pant, so going that extra mile to make sure we've got textured cloth. We have the wraps, of course. There's the pegs on the feet. This is the alternate hands I have currently on him in order to get that ready posed. We've got the butterfly joints on this one. Not all of them have that, so it's nice to see when they do. Of course, let me put him back down here. Here are the original hands. It's kind of these slap chop or karate hands. Now, we also have the alternate head. This is kind of this scream head, which is honestly, I think, kind of cool. I don't know how well you can see in there, but that tongue inside the mouth, everything is painted in there. Super, super impressive. Kind of creepy looking scream, but it is pretty neat. Then you get to, I think, one of the most interesting accessories. Of course, everybody knows Dhalsim's power or specials is that he can stretch. He can get kicked from one side of the screen to the other, punch from one side of the screen to the other. And so naturally, it comes with some alternate arms. And those hands on the arms are molded on there. These are like rubber, but they have a wire on the inside so that you can pose them. And here's the feet. And so really kind of crazy what you can do with him with those long accessories. So let's take a look at him with those accessories attached as kind of our final action pose of the day. Alrighty, so I'm gonna have to hold this here, try to scoot him back a little so you can see that leg fully extended. But there you go, pretty much just like maybe the Sprite with that leg extended, kicking across the thing. Again, some of these poses you would need some kind of action stand or something to keep them in position so that you can have these. But man, so interesting to have a figure that can recreate that. Really, really do enjoy this line, and I'll just kind of prop him up there for now so that we can keep him in there. And so let's take a look, one last look at all of them, all posed in their backdrops, ready for display. All right, so first up, there's 4 of our figures. You got Ryu, you got Fei Long, you got Ken and Dhalsim. Of course, we cannot forget Bison and Chun Li. Just really, let me move that up a little bit. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. Just really, really cool. All these figures and the posability and the display. I really love them with the backdrop. So I kind of hinted that I'd be working on kind of a craft for this. So what I plan on doing is, since I have 6 figures, right, I can set up 3 different matches. And so I plan on getting crafty and doing one of those layered kind of retro pieces. You've probably seen them in GameStop, others, where they take an 8-bit screenshot from a game, they layer them up so that they kind of have depth to them, so you can see each layer of a stage with some things in the foreground, some things in the background, multiple layers of background. So I'm going to print 3 large size, probably going to be, since these are 6-inch figures, the stage usually height-wise is about double the size of the figure, so we're looking about a 12-inch width, probably 18 inches wide. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going for, is that 12 by 18. Then we will shadow box those, so there'll be 3 different stages. And then we'll pose the characters in the shadow box in front of that three-dimensional stage so that you have this really cool display piece with action going on. So I plan on doing a few of these where maybe they're just in their ready stance, getting ready to start the round, and I might do a, big ready coming out of the shadow box, or some where they're getting hit. And so I'm going to need some action stands that can lift some of these up off the ground and pose them in a way that shows they're getting impacted. But I think all in all, it'll make a really cool display piece when these are done, to have the different fighters going at it. So I'm really excited to do that. I think as I get those complete, I'll do a video just to show you guys, because I think if it turns out well, I think it'll be really cool kind of figure display / diorama / art piece that I can hang on my walls or mount on a shelf or whatever. Obviously 12 by 18 is pretty good size. So I'm thinking it's probably wall mount will probably be better, because I can get them up out of the way and more easily access them if I ever want to switch characters out or change up their poses. But man, as a Street Fighter fan, if you love Street Fighter, if you love fighting games, and you're a fan of toys, statues, these are about as good as I've ever seen. Of course, you can buy really expensive figures in this line that maybe look just a little more polished, but these are so affordable at $20, $25 a piece. The articulation is next level. The texturing, the quality of these figures is like none I've ever seen. And these aren't my first Street Fighter figures, right? So let me show you in comparison a couple others real quick. I'm just grabbing them from the X-Men versus Street Fighter line. Can't remember who made these off the top of my head, but really it's remarkable how bad those line of figures are, but it was like kind of all we had. So take a look at Ryu here, right? He looks ridiculous. He's got this tiny little head. Of course, we do have the soft goods gi, but man, these are terrible. And of course, they have action features, so you can make him punch. He does have a fireball, which is kind of similar to the one that came out, but it's more solid in color, and you would just slide that over his arm. Here is Ken from that same line. Again, really an odd-looking face. Got those caterpillar eyebrows. There's the back, right? Soft goods again. This one doesn't really have any action feature, so there you go. And then, and somehow his cape just came off on one of his shoulder pads here. I don't know how that happened. Let's see if I can get that back on real quick. There is Bison again. Has some kind of action. You know, I don't know what this is supposed to do. But it's a weird looking punch action if that's supposed to be. But you can just tell, like, there's not much posability in these. They're stuck in weird positions. They look so hokey. You know, they just don't even look right as you look at those. And then you compare these, right, to that line right there. And you just got to think, wow, like, what were these guys thinking? You know, just so disappointing on these X-Men versus Street Fighter figures. But again, these Jadas are so good. So, like I said, you made it all the way to the end. This was a big one. We covered a lot. 6 Street Fighter figures. We, of course, played around with each of them. Tried to show you the positives and negatives about all of them. There's not a whole lot of negatives, to be quite honest with you. It would be nice to have more stands, but most of them have such good articulation. They pass the kick their own butt tests. You know, they've put the butterfly shoulders in on the figures that need them where they need them. And just an amazing line from Jada. And I really can't wait for the next waves to start coming out, because these are very cool and they really scratch that Street Fighter itch, and they will look great on display in the arcade around the games and everything. So once again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for making it to the end. Did you like this video? Do you like these figures? Do you plan on getting any of them? Do you have some already? Leave a comment below. As always, really appreciate you and want to thank you for subscribing. And until next time, have fun.